I think we're live. Hopefully you can hear me. If you can't, please let me know in the chat, although you couldn't hear that if you can't hear. So my name is Kayla Cox. I'm the owner of this channel, 6 Miles to Supper, which describes how I lost the weight. I had always struggled with my weight and got to the point where I was obese. And then I learned about intermittent fasting, and over the course of time, I lost 80 pounds. I got down to my goal weight, my final goal weight, in about 2018, the end of 2018, and I've been maintaining that weight loss since that time. So the way I do intermittent fasting, I'm very laid back. I even wrote a book called The Laid Back Guide to Intermittent Fasting, because the way I approach intermittent fasting is just in a laid back kind of way, because I want it to be sustainable for the rest of my life. Because in my opinion, why lose the weight if you're gonna regain it? And the way people regain the weight is going back into old habits. That's what always happened to me. I was always on a diet, and I would be good on the diet, and I would lose the weight, but then what would happen? I would eventually go back to eating all the foods that I loved, and then I would regain the weight. So intermittent fasting helped me to change those bad habits that I had: overeating, emotional eating, stress eating, and everything, losing weight sustainably, and then just maintaining that weight loss. So if you do have questions, you can put them in the chat. I'm happy to answer anything about intermittent fasting. I practice OMAD usually, which is 1 meal a day, although I do switch it up because I'm in maintenance. And so let's see, what else? I also have a podcast also called 6 Miles to Supper, and that is basically the same stuff I do on this channel, only sometimes it's more mindset related, and I love podcasts, so I like to have different kinds of ways to talk about all this stuff, all this weight loss stuff. So if you have questions, just put them in the chat. My husband, JR, is in the chat as 6 Miles to Supper, and he'll be moderating. So thank you, Jay, for doing that, as always. And there are no stupid questions, so feel free to ask away. Also, to let you know real quick, there is a DonorSee project that this channel is supporting. If you see my shirt, it says DonorSee. I'm not paid by them. I love this app, which basically helps you to donate directly to charities. The charities give you update videos of exactly how your money was used. There's a great project right now. There's a woman named Judith. She has some really severe dental problems, and there's this great organization called Hope Smiles, and they give affordable dental treatment to people. And so she's been in pain for a couple of years now. So there's a project on there. It needs like $333 more to be fully funded. So if you would like to impact the world, that's one great way to do that. Okay, so it looks like we do have some questions. So I'm going to answer it. So sample MMIs, Monday, let's see. Oh, sorry, is Monday. Sorry, I couldn't quite see the question. Is Monday hard for you since we eat 3 meals on Sunday? It seems like it's hard to get back on. My hunger is awful after going off my 1 meal a day. Okay, so that's a great question. So the reason why I took Sundays off, when I was formulating my plan, I was like, I need to have Sundays just be a completely normal day. One big reason was because we had a pancake breakfast every Sunday. My husband makes awesome homemade pancakes, and so I just thought, okay, I need this to be part of my plan. Because otherwise it was just knocking me off plan, and it was just not working. So I said, okay, I'm gonna have Sunday just be the day is completely off. I call it my cheat day, but really all that means is just there's no fasting that day. And so what I did find, just like you, Mondays are rougher because of that. And it would be easier. I do want to point that out. It would be easier to just 7 days a week do OMAD. But that doesn't work in my life because I have a family, and we had pancake breakfast, and I wanted pancake breakfast to be a part of my life. So the way I looked at it in the beginning was, I'm willing to make that sacrifice. Like, it's okay with me that Monday is a little bit harder. And in fact, I'm really glad that I did it that way, because it really made it so that I was constantly practicing how to go from being like, off plan to being back on plan. And that's like a skill, I think, because you are going to be hungrier. You're going to be hungrier on Mondays. Like I especially in the early days. Now that I've been doing this for years and years and years now, it's like nothing. Most of the time, I mean, there are occasions when it's like, oh, this is a bit more difficult. But generally speaking, it's just not hard anymore to go from, having a Sunday be like all day, like eat whenever or whatever, and then Monday be an OMAD day. It's like a muscle. I feel like it's, fasting is like a muscle. And over time, the more you do it, the easier it is. So it takes a long time, but like I said, I've been doing this for years. And so, yeah, now it's like no big thing. But I do remember in the beginning, I was like, oh man, Mondays are rough, because it was like clockwork. It was like whatever time we had the pancake breakfast on Sunday morning, that time on Monday, I was like, I feel so hungry right now. So it is tough. Like it's going to be more challenging. And that comes back to dealing with hunger and just realizing like, you're going to be fine. Like I used to be so afraid of hunger. Like as soon as I would feel hungry, I'd like almost panic. Like I got to eat, because if I don't eat right now, like, well, I was scared of my metabolism slowing down. And then also like, sometimes even feeling nauseous, because like, I'm sure it's like a blood sugar thing or something, but like feeling like, oh, I kind of felt like sick, like I need to eat something. But if I just said, I'm not going to eat right now, and just be really stubborn about it, that goes away. Like that feeling passes. It's really transitory. It's like, maybe 10, 15 minutes and you're done. And if you just go and get busy doing something else, I found then it's not such a challenge. Like I try to make Mondays, like in those early days, I tried to make Mondays really super productive. So just having things like, okay, I'm doing this, this, and this, and lots of house cleaning or catching up on bookkeeping and stuff that need to be done, just, keeping myself busy. So it gets a lot easier with practice though. So there you go. Okay, next question. Did you have butter and syrup and meat? I'm assuming that was about the pancake breakfast. And absolutely. What I found for myself with pancakes and stuff was I was much better off eating the pancakes with butter, and especially having some sort of meat with them, as opposed to just having straight up pancakes with just syrup. I mean, I'm sure it has because it's got, otherwise you're getting fat and protein and stuff, and it's just a more like balanced kind of meal. But yeah, I do up the pancakes, right? I mean, maple syrup, bacon, turkey bacon usually, and real butter. I do, that's something that I should probably mention. I always do like real butter, real half and half, so not fat-free stuff, like full fat cheese, full fat everything, whole milk, and that's just like a habit of mine. It's not necessarily for any particular reason other than that's just how I eat. So hopefully that answers your question. Okay, next question. Young, did you have a fear of being successful with weight loss but gaining it back? And how did you combat those thoughts if you had them? That is such a good question, because that is something a lot of people don't think about. But yes, I had that. I mean, for a long time, I procrastinated on really, really trying with weight loss, like really committing to it, because that was my big fear. I'm going to lose the weight yet again and put it right back on yet again. I mean, by this time, if you look back from the time I was like 6 years old, I was like overweight or on a diet, losing the weight, then regaining it, and then of course after I got married, same thing, weight gain, started having kids, lots of weight gain. With every subsequent kid, it was like I would lose some of the weight, but not all of it, and then gain more with the next pregnancy. And so it felt really embarrassing to constantly be regaining the weight. And so the thing I had to kind of get past was to say, okay, I had a fear of being successful with weight loss and actually feeling worse because of it. So this is like a really weird fear I had, but I was afraid that if I lost the weight, it would make my marriage bad. I was afraid I would become really vain, and then my husband wouldn't like that, or I would become attention seeking. So I had a lot of kind of crazy fears around that. But the big one though really was, if if I lose the weight and then regain it, because, like, that is a thing people do. People talk about people badly behind their backs when you regain the weight. Like, I've been present when people do that. And so I was really nervous that I was going to lose the weight and gain it back. So, but I just got to the point where I had to say, well, first of all, if I do get down to my goal weight and I hate being at that weight, it's really easy to gain the weight back. So I got over that fear just by saying I can always regain the weight. But getting over that fear of the regain, the thing that helped me was to say, what would have to be true for me to regain the weight? Like, what would I have to do? And I realized it's not magic. It's not like one day you just wake up and you start gaining weight. It is all about your habits. It's all about going back to overeating, emotionally eating, and so I realized, like, when I finally really got it through my brain, weight loss is not about luck. It is about effort. It's about daily habits. Then that gave me a lot of peace, because I realized there is a way to maintain it. It's not magic. It's not luck. It's all about your habits. So that got me over the fear when I just really solidified that in my head. It's all about habits. So hopefully that helps you. JC, love all your content. Oh, thanks. Are you planning to do your OMAD schedule the rest of your life? Are some foods off limits because of the effect on you? Okay, so last question first. Are there any foods that are off limits because of their effects on me? No. What I found for myself was that kind of thinking, like certain foods are just off limits, like, oh, I can't handle, they're too delicious or whatever. If I ever thought about them that way, they just got this incredible power over me. Like, I can't stop, So I just decided I can always have all the foods. So there is no food that's off limits. Like double stuffed Oreos, love them, but I can have them whenever I want them. And so everything is allowed always. That's my rule. That was a rule that I really instituted in 2016. That January 2016 is when I really got clear on my plan. That was when I said, I'm going to do intermittent fasting 6 days a week, walk 6 miles a day, and have a cheat day on Sunday. That was my plan. And the big thing was no off limit foods. And I got self-control. It was just amazing. I was like, oh, this was the trick. Like, just allow myself to have all the foods. It really helped me to be able to just control myself. Forbidden food tastes the sweetest, I think, is something someone said one time. And I think that is really true. Okay, so your first question was, do I plan on doing OMAD for the rest of my life? No. Well, let me put it this way. So when I'm in maintenance, my overarching rule is that as long as I maintain in the 140s, I'm good. So for me, I like to be really flexible with my eating. And what I've found for myself after a lot of experimentation, because in maintenance, I wasn't really sure in the beginning. I thought, well, I don't know, do I need to do OMAD every day or, 6 days a week in order to maintain in the 140s? Or, can I have 2 meals a day? Or, or do I need to, do OMAD sometimes or whatever? And so my overarching thing is, I do OMAD when I feel like it. Generally speaking, though, I do some form of fasting pretty much every day. And actually, it's funny because we go to church now. This was not something we were doing in the beginning. And in our tradition in church is you don't eat before you take communion. So basically from midnight the night before until after liturgy. So I end up fasting on Sundays now a little bit, but that kind of gets canceled out because we've switched our pancake breakfast generally to Saturdays now, or sometimes now it's waffles. So the point is, do I do OMAD every day? Now in maintenance, no. It depends on what my life is like, what all I have going on. There are certain periods of my life where I do OMAD to just simplify things, especially if it's a very stressful time. I just say, okay, I'm just going to do OMAD because again, I tend to have that stress eating, emotional eating kind of thing going on. And so it can be really, really tricky to really suss out in those really stressful times in my life, am I stressing right now, or do I really just want to have lunch? And so that's kind of like how I approach it. Someone asked, am I Orthodox? Yes, I am. We converted to Orthodoxy. We entered the church on July 17th. So anyway, so OMAD is something that I still do love to do. I have found, as my kids have gotten older, it's been more difficult to practice because my kids actually like having lunch with me. Go figure. Like it was something when they were younger they didn't really care about, but we're homeschool my kids, so in the early days they didn't care, but now that they're older, I've got a teenager and a preteen, and they invite me to have lunch. Like, hey mom, you want to have lunch? And of course I'm going to say it. Well, like, my rule is I always say yes to my kids when they are requesting time with me. So hopefully that helps. Let's see. Leanna Watson asked, how many calories did you eat a day while you were losing weight? That is such a good question. And I'm going to have to say, I don't know. Here's what I do know. I was eating in a deficit, obviously, because I was losing weight. I did not count my calories. And actually, I meant to mention this earlier. I just did an interview with Lauren Morley, and she lost 40 pounds when she was a teenager doing intermittent fasting, kind of unbeknownst to her that that's even what it was called. And we talked a little bit about counting calories. And I did count calories in 2015. I got really what's the word? Obsessive about counting calories. I had a Fitbit, and my thought was, because I wasn't losing weight fast enough. In my mind, like in 2015, I was like working out really, really hard, and I was doing all manner of things. I had heard about intermittent fasting, and so I'd do it sometimes, but then I'd quit because I thought it wasn't really working. And I'd do like high intensity interval training. I was doing CrossFit workouts. Like I was doing lots and lots of stuff, quitting a lot of things, and just experimenting with a lot of stuff too. And at one point I thought, okay, I've got to count my calories. And so that's what I did. I started out just kind of doing the ballpark kind of method, like just whatever it was on the Fitbit app. I would just like I would press the thing, like, okay, I had a bagel with cream cheese or whatever. But that wasn't helping me to lose weight as quickly as I thought I should be. So then I started like weighing and measuring on my food, and I got really, really, really obsessive about it. And I was still, I was losing weight at about 1 pound a week, which is really good, but I didn't realize that at the time. So I eventually just, there was one particular night I was like, I had weighed my cheese, and I was just like so mad because everyone else at the table was just like piling on the cream, or the sour cream and the cheese, and they were eating tacos, and I was just like, I'm so resentful right now of counting calories, and I'm just, there's got to be a better way. I'm not going to do this anymore. And so I stopped. I said, I'm not going to count calories, and I'm going to see what my results are like. And so sure enough, like after I had stopped that for like, I think it was about 6 weeks that I ran that little experiment, I realized that like I lost at the same rate. I was losing about 1 pound a week if I just ate, paying attention to just stopping when I was full versus if I just counted calories. And I really preferred the method of just stopping when I was full. And so one thing I do know is I was relying on my Fitbit, the calorie burn from it, to try to determine how many calories I should eat. And I think what was happening was Fitbit was telling me I was burning more calories than I actually was. Because based on like what I thought deficit I was in, like I was losing much more slowly, or at least that's what it seemed like at the time. So a good rule of thumb, which Lauren, she wrote a book called Act Like a Lady, Eat Like a Man. And in that book, she said, multiply your weight times 14, and that's the number of calories you should eat, I think, in order to lose weight. So again, I don't know exactly, because I really don't know how much I was burning. All I know is I was in a deficit of some sort. I know that's not very helpful, but that's all I can tell you. Okay, Teresa asked, I have your book and love that you did cream in your coffee during your fasting window. Oh, great. How many cups do you think you had in your fasting window? I heard that over 50 calories breaks fast. And yes, that is the generally accepted wisdom. My thought on that was when I was deciding, like, do I want to have cream in my coffee or am I going to try to learn how to drink it black? I knew I wasn't going to drink it black because I just don't like the taste of black coffee. And so my thought was, I don't even care like if it technically breaks the fast or not, because I'm not in this to never break the fast. I'm in this to lose weight. And that was the perspective I hit it from. I do drink it with half and half. And so, and generally speaking, the number of cups I had during the fasting window was usually 2 to 3. I would say most of the time it was 3 because I'm trying to pull from my memory here. I'm pretty sure I would have 2 cups in the morning, first thing right off the bat, and then 1 in the afternoon. So yeah, I mean, and let's see, I can't remember. I've measured the cream in my coffee. I think on my website there's actually an article where I actually did measure out the coffee because I really go by the color, not so much by like I never measure because that was another thing. I was like, I'm not going to measure the cream either because that will drive me crazy. So I'm just going to like make it turn the right color in my cup, and that's what I'm going to have. So did my coffee technically break the fast? Probably. It was probably 60, 70 calories, I'm assuming. It might have even been 80. I don't know for sure. But again, not what I cared about. What I cared about was, am I losing weight? And if the answer was yes, then that was my measure of success for myself. But if you're really, wanting to be strict with it, it really just depends on your goals. Like what is important to you, Teresa? Is it to, like, cause some people, are really concerned about like autophagy and stuff. And I just wasn't. I just wanted to be able to have my coffee so that I could stick to the fast, so that I didn't eat during my fasting window, and so that I lost weight ultimately. Okay, so hopefully that helps you. Lee Mazur asks, I'm trying OMAD, but I'm not losing anything. I think I might be eating too much during my window. What do you eat? Okay, so a couple of things, Lee. First thing I always ask everyone who is having trouble losing is, first of all, do you need to lose weight? So like, cause sometimes people are in the normal BMI and then they're trying to lose weight and wondering why it's not happening. And generally speaking, if you're in the normal BMI, you really don't have weight to lose. Or if you do have some weight to lose, it's going to be really, really slow, like fractions of a pound usually. But then you also talk about your window, and that's another little place where I get a bit confused, because when I say OMAD, I literally mean 1 meal a day. So meaning when I sit down to the table, I eat my food, I eat whatever I'm going to eat, and then when I stand up from the table, I'm done. It's not like an hour or 2 of eating. This is just like sit down, eat your food, stand up, you're done. So when you say I'm not, maybe I'm eating too much in the window, that would be a question I have. Do you mean that you have like actually 1 meal, or do you mean that you are eating for a bit of time? Okay, so you do have 50 pounds to lose. Okay, so you do have weight to lose. Second question on that then is, when you say I'm not losing anything, how long have you been weighing yourself? Do you weigh yourself daily, and how long have you been doing that? And how long have you been consistently practicing OMAD? Because another thing that happens sometimes is that people try it for a few days and think, I didn't lose any weight, so therefore it's not working. But again, a good rate of loss is 1 pound a week. So if you're being really, really consistent over the course of, say, 6 weeks, you should lose about 6 pounds. So if you want to add more details, feel free. But you asked me, what do I eat? Anything I want. I eat, let's see, I have a blog post, because people ask me what I eat all the time, and I try not to frequently talk about what I eat, just because of there's this thing called the Hawthorne effect, which means that people change their behavior if they know they're being observed. And I try really hard to act as though I don't have a YouTube channel about this stuff. I don't have a podcast. It's just Kayla eating the food she wants to eat. That's what I try to act like. And I know that if I constantly told people what I was eating, I would change what I was eating to try to impress people with how great I eat. So I did do this one blog post a while back, and I did it in retrospect. So in other words, like somebody asked me and I just said, okay, I'm going to go for the past week and just tell you what I ate. So in the hopes that, that would have been a very honest look at what I ate. But on a given week, generally I'll have spaghetti with meat and garlic knots as a meal. Beans and rice is one that I do. I put mayonnaise in it. It's a Southern thing. Let's see what else. Gravy and biscuits is on there because I'm, again, a Southerner. Man-pleasing chicken with roasted broccoli. That's another thing that I like. I will eat dessert when I want it. Let's see what else. So it's really any food though. So I am not the type of person who is eating a lot of salmon. I don't know that I've ever had kale. I think his mom one time had kale in a salad or something, but I don't do that kind of like trying to eat clean. Like I just eat food. Okay, so Lee, let's circle back around. You said you eat for 2 hours and you weigh every day, and I eat dessert too. I love ice cream. Okay, so on the weighing every day, how consistent have you been with OMAD? Like, have you been very, very consistent, and for how long? That would be the next thing. But eating for 2 hours. So instead of saying OMAD, I think it would be more accurate to say you're doing a 22-hour fast with a 2-hour eating window. And what can happen in that kind of a time frame? I mean, some of us can really eat. I'm one of those people that can really put away the food when they want to. So it might be that, obviously if you're not losing anything, like if you're being very, very consistent with this window, like over the course of a few weeks. So you've been on it for a month. Okay, so here's what I would say. You're eating too many calories. And yes, you can. In 2 hours, those of us who can, like some people, some of us are just blessed with the ability to eat really big portions and to really not feel that full. What I would try, if I were you, maybe try, instead of having a 2-hour eating window, just try eating the one meal. So do a literal OMAD. So like you get to eat whatever you want as you're sitting there, but stop when you're full. And eat your dessert right then. So like no getting up from the table and then waiting a few minutes, or waiting 30 minutes and then eating your dessert. Just like try to eat it all at one sitting and see how that works for you. And I too love ice cream. I love Ben and Jerry's and Haagen-Dazs and all the good stuff. So, but ultimately, if the scale is not moving down, and again, a pound a week, so like over the course of a month of being very, very consistent, you should be down 4 pounds, because you do have 50 pounds to lose. So a pound a week would definitely be something good to shoot for. I'm not a doctor. I should say that I'm not a doctor, but I'm just saying, like, based on everything I've read, a pound a week is a good thing to shoot for. And generally people can keep it off a lot easier when they lose at a slow rate. So basically whenever the scale is just a good barometer. If the scale is not moving down, it means you're eating too much. So if the scale's moving up, it means you're eating more than you need. If the scale's staying the same, it means you're eating exactly the right amount, which means you have found at this point what your maintenance level of eating is, and you just need to decrease that a bit. So hopefully that helps you, Lee. I know it's tough, it's hard work to kind of eat less than what you're used to eating. It just is. It takes a while to get used to. Okay. Thanks, Lee. Honesty is the best policy, right? Leslie's Locks. I've been doing strict intermittent fasting / OMAD for 42 days and initially lost 10 pounds the first 2 weeks, and I've been stuck losing and gaining 2 pounds since then. So frustrating. Any suggestions to help me see the scale go down? Okay, so 42 days, that's 6 weeks, right? So you've lost 10 pounds in 6 weeks. So I would give it, I mean, again, and I know that this sounds crazy, but you want to be averaging a pound a week. So if you have a big drop like that, it's very possible that you'll plateau for quite a while. And then, but you got to stick with it. That's the thing. Like so many people, when they hit that plateau, they think, well, it's not working anymore. I've got to change something, or I quit. But if they would have just stuck with it, the scale would start to move down again. So if it were me, Leslie, and I was like, okay, I lost 10 pounds already, I would expect my weight to start going down more after like the 11th week of being on this plan. Your body, like in my experience, the body doesn't just like lose at a steady rate. I talked about this in one of my podcast episodes, one of the recent ones. It was about slow weight loss and what does that look like. And I took you through like, what did my weight do on any given Friday for like 12 weeks? And you can see how it goes up and down and up and down and up and down. Over time, it is going down, but there are sometimes like this, like, it's like, oh wow, that was a drop of like 3 pounds. And it seems kind of inexplicable, but it's just the way your body loses weight. There are more technical ways of explaining it, which I am not qualified to do, but just know that sometimes there is kind of like a whoosh, and you just kind of have to hang in there and just keep being consistent with your plan. Just be very, very consistent, and over time, the scale will start to move down again. But make sure you're not emotionally eating during the time because you're stressed out about the scale not moving. That's another thing that can happen too. So, Naomi Jones, after reading your book, I reintroduced carbs into my diet after trying to restrict for at least a year. I've been doing 16, 8 for 3 weeks, and I'm gaining weight. Help. Okay, so a couple things, Naomi. First of all, when you add carbs back in, again, I'm not a doctor or a nutritionist, but you can look this up to get a more detailed explanation. But basically, your body holds on to carbs differently. So like when you eat carbs, you have more water weight. That's just how it is. When you go really low carb, your body releases water weight. That's why there's a big loss of weight when you go like really strict off carbs. So it's not really like you've gained any fat. Most likely, it sounds like you just reintroduce carbs and your weight went up because of it. But that's just water weight. So that would be the first thing to just know that your body processes carbs differently, and that's just going to be a normal thing that happens. Another thing though that can happen, and you'll just have to kind of look at your own eating and see what's happening. What can happen is when you finally let yourself have that thing that you've been craving, like if you haven't had bread and then all of a sudden you can have bread again, you can like overdo it on bread because it's like, oh my gosh, I missed bread, and who wouldn't miss bread? So it might just be that you're overdoing it on those things because you've missed them. And again, that just takes time. Like I remember when I first started just really telling myself like, you can have whatever you want. Like there would be times I would overdo it. I think just to kind of like test myself, like, do you really mean it? Like we can really eat whatever we want. Like we don't have to not have bread, or we have to take it easy on bread. And it's a process. It's not just like a snap your fingers and you just have perfect control from now on. Like it's a process. So that could possibly be it too. So just working on stopping when full. Again, there are different people, have different foods that like they just eat really fast because, they love those foods, like double stuffed Oreos, not to bring those up again, but I've had to learn how to just say, okay, it's really easy to pound a sleeve of these and not even realize that I've done that. So, that's just something to be aware of. So just pay really close attention to, are you stopping when you are full, or are you not? And if you're not stopping when full, work on that. Work on paying really close attention to your, are you paying attention to your food? So don't have the television on, don't have your phone on or at the table. Just only be focusing on the food and see if that helps too. Okay. Young, were you in the cusp of health issues at your heaviest weight And if so, how much did OMAD help? Okay, let me take a quick sip of water.
Naomi said thank you, and she realizes she needs to be patient.
Okay, yeah. Patience. It's a funny word because it really just means learning how to be in pain, like for a while. Same word as like passion and stuff. Okay, so the cusp of health issues. So now, subjectively, I would say yes. And the reason I say that is like, for example, when I laid down, like on my back, I had trouble breathing. Like I couldn't just breathe normally. And that scared me. That was something that just scared me. I didn't have a health scare. In fact, like I had like a life insurance physical thing, you know, like where they took my blood and all that stuff. I think that was 2014. I think that's about right. Which would have been at my absolute heaviest. And everything was normal. Everything was fine. But when during my third pregnancy, so with my youngest kid in there, I did fail the gestational diabetes test thing. Like my fasting number was like 91 and failing was 90 or something like that. So I failed it by a point. But I did track my blood sugar during that time. That would have been 2012, yeah. And my blood sugar was really fine. Like actually the midwife ended up saying, like, basically, I don't think you really have gestational diabetes. I think it was just, you know, a bad fasting number. So to answer your question, I don't really think like I had necessarily had any health issues. But I can tell you that since losing the weight, I feel so much better. Like being able to just lay down and breathe normally. That's really nice. I worry a lot less. I mean, and I think all that was kind of because I ended up realizing that so many times I was stress eating and emotionally eating. So I had to learn how to deal with things other than by eating, actually deal with things, which I think helped my overall health. Hopefully that answered. I can't think of any other things really that I was dealing with. I did have like a dishydrosis thing going on with my fingers. That was like back in 2015. Again, I was very overweight, or 2014. And I kind of determined, or I thought that I was allergic to soap, so I had to stop using soap on my hands. And so that was really crazy because like I would have to go out in public and like not wash my hands in the bathrooms and stuff. And the dishydrosis went away. Like it was like these little pimply things all over my skin. It really got me over my fear of germs. I was a germaphobe before, but yeah, so that was like another kind of, I don't know, what would you call that? Like a little weird thing about me, but that I eventually did get over. It helped me to face a lot of fears, oddly. It was kind of unrelated to weight loss, but in a way related, a kind of thing. So, okay, another question. What was your water intake like during your fasting window? I don't have any kind of water goal. I drink when I'm thirsty. Not to be gross, but I pay attention to what color my urine is, and so if it's too dark, I say, hey, I need to drink more, because I'm in Florida. So if I'm out walking my 6 miles in the Florida heat, in the heat of the day, then I'm definitely going to be a lot more like, okay, I need to drink water. But I let my thirst guide me, generally speaking. I kind of feel like, you know, animals, they know when to drink, and, you know, in one sense, I'm an animal, so I know when to drink, and so I don't think it really, to me, it's just not that important to be so strict with like, I gotta drink X amount of water today. I just don't do that. So, although I will say, drinking enough water can help you to like feel full, and you know, like, so if you're feeling hungry, just, you know, drinking some water can help with that sometimes. Did I lose weight without a gym membership? Oh, that's a good question. Okay, so I got it, and it's kind of like, well, that depends on how you look at it, because, okay, so in 2014, that's when I said, that was my I've had enough moment, I've got to get this weight off, something's got to change. And then that whole year, I was like measuring myself with the measuring tape, but I would not get on the scale, would not do it. I was just like, I'm going to lose weight without getting on the scale. Because in my mind, I thought, well, I'm probably 185. And so, I used that. But I wasn't making progress. I mean, I was pulling the tape tighter, so I was like making progress, but I knew deep down, I was like, I'm lying to myself. Like, I'm pulling the tape tighter. I'm not losing any weight. I took progress photos. I could tell, like, there's no real progress happening. So February of that year, my sister-in-law said, hey, I can get, like, you have a free, like, week at my gym if you want to try it. And I went. And I ended up signing up for a gym membership because I was like, I need to be here. I need to go to the gym and work out. And it was I was doing a workout, and I just knew, like, I've got to go get on the scale. I've got to do this because I don't know where I'm at. I don't know if I'm really making any progress. I don't think I am, but I have to know. And so I went in and got on the scale, and that was the big slap across the face because I was 222.2 pounds. And that was way higher than what I thought, and it definitely put me in the obese range, and I was just shocked. And that was another turning point for me where it was like, okay, now I know where I'm at for real, and I really do have to get this weight off, and it motivated me. So the actual gym membership, did it help me to lose weight? That's debatable, like, because what ended up happening, I lost about 20 pounds that year, started to regain the weight, so like a net loss of, I think, about 15 pounds. But I really had better success like in 2016, and that was after I had already, like, I injured my back doing deadlifts at the gym. Again, because I was trying to compete with my husband. He's flexing over there. But I was trying to compete with him. Like, I'm very competitive. And so I was lifting heavier and heavier, and I pulled something in my back, and it was terrible. And everything hurt to try, like, every kind of exercise hurt. The only thing I could really do was walk. And I thought, I'm never going to lose weight now because I can't work out. I can't lift heavy. And I had it in my brain, I've got to, like, lift heavy, and I've got to work out really hard, high intensity workouts and stuff. But I ended up just walking, like 2016 especially. That's when I said, okay, walking 6 miles a day, because that's really all I felt I could do. And then that's when I lost the bulk of my weight. So I didn't really need the gym membership, but yet the gym membership started me on that path. So yes and no. JC, if you were eating something like pizza, do you set out to eat so many pieces, or just to see how you feel while eating? Yeah, okay. So my technique is to just try to really pay attention to how I'm feeling, like, to see, am I really full? And stop then. Because if I say to myself, well, I'm going to eat 4 pieces, well, then, I'll probably eat, 4 pieces even if I'm feeling full. So I try to really pay attention. The only time that'll be different is if I'm, like, in a situation where I know I tend to like overeat. Like, for example, being in a group of people, I tend to probably feel nervous on one side of that, but also just, like, not paying attention. I'm focused on the conversation stuff, so I can just be eating, and not paying attention. So I'll try to be more aware of how many pieces I have eaten, and maybe I would probably say to myself, like, okay, I need to, like, stop at 3 or something like that. But again, it's just kind of like, it depends on the situation kind of thing. But generally speaking, my overarching rule is just stop when I'm full. I just need to be a lot more careful when I'm in a group of people. Sample asks, how often do you eat dessert? That's a good question. It varies. Oh, I know that's the worst kind of answer, right? Because it's like, just tell me how many times. My kids get on this kick sometimes of making dessert, like, for every day. They love to bake, and so we're eating dessert like every day this week, or that hasn't happened this week. But so it depends. I would say, though, generally speaking, we probably have dessert 2 to 3. Jay says 3, so let's go. I would say 2 to 3 times a week. Yeah, 2 to 3 times a week. It depends. Like I said, there are those crazy weeks where it's like every night we're having dessert, and then there are other times where like we didn't have a dessert this week. So it depends. But again, my rule is stop when I'm full. If we're having dessert, like if I know there's going to be dessert, because sometimes I don't know. Sometimes my kid gets a wild hair and they're like, hey, I'm going to make dessert. And I'm like, I didn't really plan for this, but I'm still going to eat some dessert. I try to, if I know that we have dessert, I try to just remember that when I'm eating, like, okay, I call it tying the feed bag off early. Like I had heard that in an article a long time ago, and it just kind of always stuck with me. So in other words, just like stop eating a little bit before I get full so that I have room for dessert. I'm trying not to ever be miserable after a meal. That's another general kind of rule I have. Young, is it wise to tell everyone you're trying to lose weight early in your weight loss journey, or wait until you've got substantial results and a steady lifestyle? My opinion, tell no one. Or, I mean, the one thing that I do regret in hindsight is I didn't tell Jay, my husband, that I was losing weight, trying to lose weight, anything. I just kept it all to myself. And I feel like he could have made things easier for me just by being, he would have been an encourager, I think. And so in some ways it would have been easier. But when you tell people you're trying to lose weight, then you can start to have this feeling like, oh my gosh, everybody's watching what I'm doing and everybody's like obsessing over what I'm eating and they don't care. But once you tell them, you're going to think that they care. That's one thing. It puts more pressure. Try to keep it as low pressure as you possibly can. I am very glad, for example, that I did not start this YouTube channel or my podcast or anything until I had already lost the weight and kept it off for like a year. Because if I had tried to do all of this in the midst of it, I would have been completely overwhelmed. I think I would have failed. Because people, I mean, it's crazy to me, but like in the comments section, which I try not to go into very often on YouTube, but like people will try to argue with me about like what I should or shouldn't have been eating. And that kind of thing you don't need in your life. When you're trying to figure out the weight loss thing, it's hard enough to change your behavior just based on like what you know about yourself and what foods you like and what foods you don't. When you add in more voices and more opinions, like when you tell people you're trying to lose weight, it's almost like you're inviting more and more advice. And that can be significantly unhelpful because people give you bad advice. They just do. Like, I don't know how many people who have really tried to encourage me, oh, you should really cut out carbs because if you do that, then you'll really lose weight fast. And that would be terrible for me because I know, like I've done that before. It doesn't last. I gain the weight back and then I have all this crazy like drama with food because like, oh, I really shouldn't be eating this. And then that only makes me want to eat it more. So yeah, I would say, don't tell people. I mean, and now if you're a kid out there, you should definitely tell your parents. Just keep it to yourself. I think that's the best thing. Expect that people aren't going to notice that you've lost weight. A lot of people, so here's a couple things. A lot of times people just don't even realize, like so many people, even though I had lost 80 pounds, like Jay didn't realize I was losing weight. And really it was only when they looked back at pictures, like from the year previous, they're like, oh wow, you really lost weight or something. Or people that hadn't seen me for a long time, they could tell. But the day to day, people just really can't tell what's going on. So that's one thing. And then, even if it is noticeable, a lot of times people aren't going to say anything to you because they don't want you to think like, oh, I had really noticed their weight gain and now, I don't want them to make them feel bad. So just instead of like looking for that like support outwardly, just kind of keep it to yourself, I think is the best thing. And then once, you really feel comfortable and you really like, you feel like you're really in a groove and maybe you've got the weight off and you've been maintaining it for a while, then telling people about it. That's what I started to do. Once I really felt like I can maintain this, I started to be a bit, when people would ask me, I would say, well, here's how I did it. I was eating too much, which people will argue with you about, which I think is so funny. Okay, Chris asked, during the fasting time, do you have times when you want to eat something, you're not hungry, you just want to get something to eat, and how do you handle that situation? Yes, of course I have those times, and what do you do to handle it? You don't eat. That's the real simple part of that is you just don't eat. You have to be really stubborn. You have to say, I'm going to find something else to do with my time. I do find it's very, very important to keep yourself busy, especially in the early days. I do think it is important to eventually learn how to be quiet and not really have anything going on and still not eat. But in the beginning, the thing that makes it much easier to not eat is to go do something. For me, getting my steps in was really helpful. I had a 6-mile goal, so I usually needed to go get some steps in if I was feeling hungry. So, so doing something else, handling the situation actually too. You said that, but usually, or a lot of times what I found was if I had that sudden urge of like, I'm not really hungry, but I really want to go eat something right now. What was going on was I was stressed out about something, which generally meant there was something I needed to take action on, like, maybe it was something with our finances, like, oh, we really need to figure out like how to bring in more income, or, we spent too much last month on eating out, so we need to have that discussion or something like that. There was some sort of thing that needed to be handled. And so learning how to talk things out, bring things up, have good discussions. Those are all things that I had to learn how to do. So, so hopefully that helps you. But mainly, don't eat. Shane said, a family member of mine has an eating disorder and wants to do intermittent fasting. What are your thoughts on this? So, on that note, let me take a quick sip of water. So eating disorders, I don't have one. And my understanding is, and again, this is just, my own, what I know of it, is that people that have an eating disorder really need to get help from a qualified, trained professional, psychologist, a really good psychologist, psychiatrist even. I've heard good things about CBT, which is cognitive behavioral therapy. I believe I've got that correct. And from people who have had eating disorders that have been helped by that. Because it's a larger issue. It is not a weight thing usually. It's more of the mental aspect of it. A lot of times people have a lot of pain and stuff that they need to deal with and process. And a therapist, a good therapist, not that all therapists are good, but there are good therapists out there that can really help. And so I would say, your family member, you could just say, how about you go talk to somebody? And then the therapist, can be in a good situation to say like, okay, here's your issue. Cause I don't know what kind, there are a lot of different eating disorders. So, they can kind of say, okay, because the thing is, if they really do have a weight problem, like an actual weight problem, then it might depend. It might be that intermittent fasting is a good fit, or it might be it's a terrible idea. Because I can tell you, intermittent fasting, it's just good because it helps you to eat fewer calories. It makes it harder to overeat. It's not like intermittent fasting is some magical thing. So, so those would be my thoughts. Have him or her, seek out professional help and support them in that, and don't make them feel ashamed or anything. Just be like, I want you to be like truly helped. So yeah, hopefully that helps. Shah Yar asks, when I am doing intermittent fasting, my cortisol levels are very high. How do I bring it down? I am doing intermittent fasting for controlling my insulin level. Okay. So, so I have no experience at all with cortisol levels. Like, I've never had mine tested, so I have no idea. And I would direct you to Jason Fung's work. I don't know if you've ever heard of him, but he is an actual doctor. He's a kidney specialist, but he has helped a lot of people with insulin issues and specifically type 2 diabetes, and he has a lot of good information, like a lot of medical things. He's very pro intermittent fasting, so I would offer him to you, because I would have no idea where to begin on all that. So hopefully that helps. Sweet Serenity says, I stopped keto. Thanks for your inspiration maintaining weight loss. Well, I'm happy that it helped you. Like, I want to make it clear, I'm not anti-keto, like, just for the sake of being anti-keto. I think if someone loves keto, like, that's how they love to eat, that's the way they should eat. People should figure out what way they like to eat, because we all have different foods that make us feel good, foods that make us feel bad, certain ways of eating that make us feel great. I mean, like, tons of people have said, like, I've never felt better on keto, and, like, I have really high energy and all this stuff. And I just don't have that kind of experience with that type of eating. So that's why I share what I do, because I do think a lot of people, they hear, like, because whatever diet is popular at the time, it's people kind of get it in their heads that's the only way to lose weight. So I'm happy that it seems to have helped you. So Daniel Holmes, what do you change about your plan once you reach your goals? Okay, so first of all, I always have a goal. That's the first trick, is always have a goal. So as soon as you hit your goal weight, then you need to set up another goal. And for me, I said, okay, I got to figure out what's my maintenance goal. For me, I said, I'm good with staying in the 140s. Like, I just want to be in the 140s. The reason I picked the 140s is because I felt pretty much the same as I did when I was in the 150s. So I was like, I don't know that it really makes a difference how tightly I am in the 140s, just as long as I'm there. I didn't want to be higher than 154, because that for me is in the overweight range. I didn't want to go back to being overweight, but it was really more of a technicality, I felt like, because I was like, I feel pretty much the same when I was at like 158. I maintained between 158 and 163 for a long time, for like a year before I lost more weight. And I did that because I was on YouTube. I was like, I should probably not be overweight while I have a weight loss channel, which I think was a dumb thing on my part. Like, I think people they found it helpful either way. So once I said, okay, I need to maintain in the 140s, that's my goal. How can I eat in order to maintain that? And I tend to be the type of person that kind of wants to push the limits, like, let's see how loosey-goosey I can be with this before I get myself too high, right, on the scale. So I did a lot of experimentation. I was like, okay, well, how do I feel eating 3 meals? Like, is that something I want to go back to? I realized, like, no, I don't like that. I enjoy skipping breakfast, especially because I get so much more done in the early part of my day. And then, like I said, with my kids, that was another thing. It was like, okay, I started to see they do want to, have lunch with me and stuff. So that needs to be part of my plan. So my overarching plan is, okay, I need to maintain in the 140s. So my own personal rule is, if I get in the 150s, so if the scale says 150 or above, then I say, okay, time to go back into weight loss mode, which is for me, OMAD 6 days a week, walk 6 miles 6 days a week, and then cheat day on Sunday. That's my general plan. But if I'm in the 140s, I say, if I want to eat 2 meals a day, I will. Generally speaking, like I said, it's generally lunch is my first meal, and I don't snack either. Like, generally speaking, it's not that I have a hard and fast rule against that. It's just that I know for me, if I'm snacking, it's because I'm emotionally eating. So I say generally 2 meals a day. Yeah, I would say the bulk of my time is either 2 meals a day or 1 meal a day. And I still take a day off on Sunday. But still have a goal, and I still have, like, basic rules for myself, not overeating and generally fasting. Jenny asks, hi, I'm from Chile. Oh, cool. What can I do about waking up during the night with hunger pangs and can't fall back asleep? How long does it take to get used to having an early dinner and not get these hunger pains? Okay, so first of all, I was actually really not I wouldn't say strict with myself, but in the early part of fasting, like when I was learning how to fast, I would eat a little something right before bed, right before my window closed. So I didn't do OMAD right off the bat. I went very slowly, and very slowly got to OMAD. And simply because I did want to be able to sleep well and stuff like that. So I would have a small snack right before bed so that I wouldn't be hungry. That being said, later on, when I was doing OMAD really consistently, there would be times where I would wake up in the middle of the night. It was weird. It was kind of like I required less sleep or something. What helped me, I didn't wake up with hunger pains. If I ever woke up with hunger pains, I just realized like I need to eat more because I don't want that to happen. So I would say if you're having hunger pains, then eat a bit more. I mean, you don't want to eat so much that you're gaining weight, but you kind of have to figure out that balance for yourself because you want to be able to sleep well. But another thing that helped me when I would wake up in the middle of the night is just to get up. Don't lay there in bed. Get up. I would read the Bible. That usually helped me to kind of like my mind would calm and then I'd fall back asleep. Or just, have a stack of books and then, go in there and read. Something about reading really calms my mind down. So hopefully that helps you. Okay, one last question and then we're done. Hi from Brazil. This is from Rogerio Sabino. Hopefully I pronounced that correctly. I'd like to know if it's possible to lose weight after our 40th, I'm assuming 40th birthday, because I've been struggling with my weight. Yes, everyone can lose weight. It is not magic. Nothing magical happens when you turn 40. Everybody's metabolism slows a bit as they get older. We start to lose muscle mass and stuff, but everyone can lose weight. Check out on this channel some success stories. A really good one is Jim. Jim Caldwell, sorry. Beating Obesity. That is his channel name. Great channel. You can check out his success story, and he also has a maintenance story. And Juan Sarmiento, I believe he was older, and there's another one that I cannot remember, but check out the success stories. There are plenty of people. Mary Kennedy, she was in her 50s, I believe, and you can just scroll through there. There are plenty of people who have lost lots of weight well after their 40th birthday. I've had people in their 70s email me telling me about their weight loss. So it's never too late, basically speaking. So thank you guys so much for all the excellent questions. I hope it was helpful. I gotta go now, but thanks for being a part of this. I hope it was helpful, and I will see you guys the next time I do one of these lives.